Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me again on African Woman Meets America's Story, where I explore stories by African immigrant women living in the USA. My guest today is Nadia Pillay, and I'm going to let her do the great introduction where she can introduce herself. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly.
My name is Nadia Pillay.
Pillay. Okay, sorry. Yes. So
Yes.
Nadia Pillay. Okay. So Nadia, go ahead and introduce yourself, like your elevator pitch, like I like to say.
My elevators, what do you call that pitch? My name is Nadia Pillay. I am from South Africa, born and raised. I've come to America when I was 13 years old in 1993. I've been here, educated here, went to college here, and have built my life here in America. I am a wellness professional and I am a theater artist. I'm an actor. I am in a production right now that will be staged in May. I am a yoga instructor. I am certified in Kemetic yoga, which is Kemetic is the original name for Egypt. So I teach Egyptian yoga. And a lot of people don't know that yoga has its origins in Africa. So I teach an African-centered yoga. And that's primarily how I do my wellness practice. I am also a partner with Color Me Africa Fine Arts, which is a nonprofit art gallery that was founded by my mother. And it's really an opportunity to give artists from Africa and the diaspora an opportunity to exhibit and showcase their work to a larger audience, an international audience.
Okay, that's good. You have a full plate.
I have a full plate, Lucy. I really do. And it's sometimes I think, am I just being an ambitious woman? But it's really when opportunity shows up in your space, it's almost like, oh, how can I not say yes to it? And it just builds to the bigger story, you know? And all of it comes back to Africa.
I was going to ask you about that because as immigrants, especially like you and I briefly discussed before we logged on, as immigrants, especially when you come to the US, right? I think you're frozen. Oh, I can see you. Okay. So when you come to the US, you kind of feel this sense of, I have to achieve absolutely everything, like everything that is sent my way. I cannot waste any opportunity. I have to make sure that I take advantage of every opportunity. And that's because we always have this thing behind us that I was the lucky one. I came here. Do you ever feel that way?
Absolutely. And I feel it, and I don't feel it as a burden, as a weight.
Okay.
I tend to feel like I have a healthy relationship with it, you know? And because it is opportunity, and why would you waste opportunity? And I've also come to learn that it's not just because I left something. There are people here that don't take advantage of their opportunities that are right in front of them. So it's like, how do you waste a ripe environment? And how do you waste the fruits that are falling there? And I've learned to accept that I thankfully I didn't have parents that forced upon me, you have to be a doctor or a lawyer or, you know, those type of really rigid, guarantee you're gonna be successful careers. My mother allowed me to be an actor.
You know what? Lucky you. And
so lucky. You met me when I was a student at the Duke Ellington School of the Arts in Washington, D.C.
I know.
And my teachers, you know, really helped to encourage and support my dream of wanting to perform, to be an artist, to perform on stage and be a theater artist. And I stuck with it and I love it. And it became a life. It became a passion. And it became something that I continue to involve myself in beyond just the stage. You know? So I'm involved with being a member of theater companies so that now I get to be sort of behind the scenes and learn how to produce art and be an art maker. And especially as theater artists, our job is to inform and to represent what's happening in the real world, in real life. And so how do you get to steer that? And how do you get to be a part of that for the greater good? You know? And so I feel like it suits my values as well that I came here with, you know, and I found my own path in it.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Okay, talking about your values, right? That you said that you came here with, right? How do you describe your heritage? Because as we know, Africa is huge, 1.5 billion people, gazillions of tribes, gazillions of cultures. You know, like Africa is not a monolith.
Right,
so,
not at all.
Yeah, so how do you describe what your heritage is?
Well, I'm from South Africa, and we also know South Africa and apartheid. And we also know, we've also come to discover that, you know, once they abolished slavery and they couldn't come and get their slaves from Africa, they went to the coast of India.
Yes.
And they got those Indians and brought them into their new world.
Exactly. Yeah.
To do the labor, to work on sugarcane plantations. And so my family comes from the southern tip of India, the Madras region. But then if you study Indian history and heritage, the earth is melanated, deeply melanated. The earth's indigenous people are deeply melanated people. And so my family are really, they come from that dark Indian, that Tamil Indian, you know? And so that mixed with Zulu, mixed with Xhosa, mixed with German, mixed with Irish, it's like, oh, I'm mixed. But then you come into your own family and then you learn about, if there's apartheid outside, there's colorism inside. Oh, but you Tamil Indian. You're not Hindu. You got curly hair. You're not thoroughbred. So you grow up with all those words and you're not sure where to put it. So I know for sure for me, I didn't grow up with like, this is your heritage. These are your traditions, you know? It wasn't. So you sort of had to, I didn't really figure my heritage out until I left South Africa. Because with colorism comes a lot of shame.
So let me
and with shame.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, right? Why am I echoing? Sorry. Okay, so let me ask you this. Like when you say you didn't figure out your heritage until you came to, you know, when you came to the US, right? So did you decide to define your own heritage, or is it that after studying your roots and your history, that's how you formed your heritage? Like at what point did you decide this is my heritage?
It had to have been when I came to America.
Okay.
And it studied South African history from having built up my skill as a student and being inquisitive and my curiosity. As I, started developing my consciousness, my Black consciousness as it relates to America. And then it brought me around to South Africa. So it was through Black American history was sort of the pipeline.
Okay.
That got me to really figure out and really understand South African history, because our history was kept from us. We were fed a certain particular history.
Okay.
And so when you're growing up, you're Black, you're white, you're colored, you're Indian. So you grow up in your suburbs, Indian suburbs, your Black suburbs, your colored suburbs, away from white people, away from their lives.
Yeah, like that.
So now when you're in those suburbs, that's where the colorism comes in, because everybody's trying to assimilate to whiteness.
Exactly.
And so you're just confused. So to me, my skin color matched Black people of South Africa. And so in terms of fitting in with the people, it felt very natural to be among that, because you just get kicked from one place to another because you're not enough of this, you're not enough of that. So then you come to America and you get exotified.
Oh,
You're like,
please, I hate that.
So now all of a sudden you what are you? You're
Oh
special.
my
It's
God.
like, you never heard that before. And so you don't know what to do with that either.
Yeah.
And so you just get in where you fit in.
Even though the
know?
whole exotification thing, the problem I have with that, especially when you're in the US, right, is because they make it seem like you're this rare being that has never been seen, that
Yeah.
has never been discovered. And I'm thinking, there's a whole continent of people who look like me. Like, have you decided just to be blind of that area and decide you're exotic? I don't know. Maybe a lot of people who say this mean it as a compliment. I don't take it as a compliment.
I think they think so. It's like, wow, you decided to come here this way to be seen by me. It's almost like an exhibit that made its way here.
Great.
You get to like, but it's also, it's like, that's how underdeveloped we are here in terms of culture and in terms of cultural awareness and cultural curiosity. But it's also like, okay. I mean, that comes with traveling. That comes with cross-cultural interchange when you do your student exchange programs.
Yes, yeah.
That level of broadness to the others.
But does it also come with curiosity? Because my argument has always been, right, that the average African, and when I mean average, I mean like, somebody who maybe doesn't even live in any of the big cities of Africa, right? They live in like a small village. They have like, regular education. They know more about the world than I think the average American. And I mean, when I say American, I mean any American of any race, right? They know about...
They just walk on the street American.
Exactly,
like
yeah.
If you were doing,
yeah. Like I feel like that average African knows a lot more about the world than the average American, So it's not even about being well-traveled, because not everyone has the means to travel. Right?
No.
So usually, what do you feel is the disconnect that Americans feel like, I don't need to know about the world. The world needs to know about me.
I think it comes with just American privilege.
Hmm.
I think just being in America automatically makes you privileged because you have access to whatever amenities America can provide for you. Mm-hmm. And then it's typical with any child that just has too much. They don't know how focused they are on it. They don't know what they're missing out on. They seem unappreciative. Have you ever seen the sibling that got everything? It seems that they don't, right? And I kind of feel like if we were a global family, the American family is the really spoiled one. They get everything. They get all the cool stuff. They get it first. They get tired of it. They throw it away because they want to upgrade it. And so when in other places where you don't have those amenities readily available to you, you take and sieve what you get. And then now you're now curious for more. You're hungry for more. And I feel, so to me, I mean, I know that seems so sort of just really basic, but that's the first thing that comes to me. And I always say to myself, live your life between your prejudice and your privilege. Because we all have prejudice and we all have privilege.
That's true.
And prime example, right? When I'm on the train, and now more than ever, you get to see what services are not available for people who have mental illness, who are housing insecure. They're all on the train, and who need facilities to help with their well-being. You get to see it's almost not now, it's out there in the public. And then I find myself wanting to just contain myself in a space so that I'm not affected by it, because it's there all the time now. It's been there for the past year and a half since the pandemic. You understand? Where before I saw it over there, then I might go into my pocket and reach and give it over there. But now it's almost on my lap. And I'm prejudiced to it being so close to my comfort
Yeah, like
zone.
I like when you're there, but not of my.
I like when you're there and I have the privilege to reach and extend it over
Yeah.
there. I mean, it's real. It's ugly to feel, but so I get to take responsibility for that. And I get to recognize that they're playing out in real time in life. And I know I'm not alone. So how is it displayed out there?
So
in the bigger world.
But how do you navigate that though? Because honestly, yes, even though, especially as an African immigrant, right? There's some sort of, like you mentioned, there's some sort of privilege that we have when we get here that we might not realize. But I truly feel there is a little bit of privilege. And the way I describe that privilege, maybe it's also out of ignorance, or maybe also out of refusing, some Africans, not everyone, who live in the US, out of refusing to learn the true history of America, right? Because I would hear in African circles where it's almost like this African American problem is not my problem. I came here for one reason and one reason only. For the most part, the reason is get your education, get your money, and live in the suburbia world, and and pretend this is not happening, and then do the and then do the regular trips to Africa, and then go to your villages in Africa, and woohoo, you made it.
Go to Western Union, send your money. Before we came to America, my mom was married to a Black American from Atlanta, my stepdad, but who's still in our life, even though my parents are divorced. And before we came to America, while we were still, he was a foreign correspondent for the Chicago Tribune, so we were living in Panama for a short time. And during that time, we were homeschooled by my mom. She taught us Black American history and Native history. And we had to learn about we had to read Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, and we read this book called Jubilee by Margaret Walker. We never came to America with the idea of what was sold to us.
Okay.
And so ever since then, we had to find out from ourselves. Our bookshelves were filled with Black authors and Black history, Black American history. And our home was filled with Black art from all around the world, and historical images depicted, And during my education in Washington, D.C., which at that time was Chocolate City, D.C., all my educators,
which I missed, by the way. That's a whole other topic.
Yeah, it is
gone, and I'm like, oh.
All my educators were Black. All my mentors were Black. All the students I admired and thought were better than me were Black. So I came into America surrounded by sort of this framework, this paradigm of Black excellence.
Okay.
To mimic, right? Now, mind you, I came from South Africa where, they called you blackie, darkie, cuffishy. All those words were called because my pigment was very dark in South Africa. So naturally, I assimilated with Black culture here in America. And I'm in Chocolate City, so it just made complete sense.
Okay.
So scholastically, I've always been guided by Black elders and Black mentors.
Okay.
So my path has always been sort of laid out for me. In addition to what my parents have instilled in me, while I'm out there in the world, I always sought the guidance, now that I really think about it, was through a Black mentor. And go here, ask this, call this, So my nudging forward was really ushered by Black hands. And so I always had sort of a reverence, because I studied Black American history, and knowing that my dad is from the South, and just reading all these books, it was so close to home that naturally my mind thought that, my dad's ancestors had to go through this so that someone like me can walk here, no matter where I'm from.
Okay.
I can come from another place, but I'm this brown. And they saw me as one of their own. And they're like, come here, baby. No, go here, baby. That's really been my experience. Even in my getting my certification for yoga, was a Black teacher from from Chicago, a Black man from Chicago.
So
I wanted to certify in yoga so bad. And I went through so many schools, but nothing resonated with my heart. I just couldn't do it. And it was all different Indian styles of yoga. And it was, they probably had the credentials, but I just couldn't put my money down. And the moment I came across his work, I had to put like $500 down a deposit and then pay it off. And I never looked back.
Okay, so...
And when I did it, I felt like I was home.
So that's... I mean, I have to say, you are very lucky that was your introduction to the U.S. Like the stage was already set up for you, from your mom's story, your mom making sure you guys knew certain history from your dad and his family welcoming you. But for the average African immigrant, I think... for the most part, and I don't want to generalize this because I don't have the numbers, but I think for the most part, it's you come as a student. I'll use myself as an example. You come as a student at 19 years old. You knew a little bit about the Western world, mainly what they want to sell us, right? The movies and all that stuff, right? And then you land here. And some people, luckily, I didn't go to the Midwest, but some people land like in the most whitest of white states, right? Because that's where they could find a school. Sometimes that's where they could find a scholarship, right? So then you land here, and then there's all these issues, or let's say a way of life that has been there historically, right? But you're this African who... you don't know too much about that, but all of a sudden you're here and then you're being classified. You're Black. You're this, and you should act this way. And how come you're not acting that way? And then you start you start insulating yourself, right? And you start falling into this path, this little section that I was talking about, where you're not so American, but at the same time, you're not so African after a while. After a while, right? And then there's the part where, since you went to school with like predominantly white people in that predominantly white neighborhoods, and you didn't know that you were not privy to the African American history, and then now the world opens up to you. You travel out of your state, you go to different states, you find a job in corporate America, and then reality hits. You are I want to use a kosher word. I want to use a word that is not so. You are the nice Black person. You're not the one who has an attitude. You're not the one who speaks back. You're the one who listens. And then sometimes I feel as Africans, we start embracing this because then you're saying, I don't want to be the angry person. You know what I mean? How do you navigate that? How do you bridge that gap where, I guess as an African, if I'm being fair to them, it's like, I was brought to this world. Quite honestly, my focus is just to go to school, make money, and help my village at home. That's my focus. Yeah. But on the other hand, when you walk the streets of the U.S., you are Black in America. So you have to be cognizant of what affects a Black person. How do you bridge those?
Absolutely.
How do you bridge those two?
I mean, I had to look at how I'm seen. Because I could be seen, if I'm in predominantly white spaces, I could be seen like, oh, she's Black enough. That kind of thing. And so I have to look at what kind of privilege I exercise or I hold in spaces that are predominantly white. Okay. But I know just innately as Nadia Pillay, coming from South Africa, and raised the way that I was raised, I have Black consciousness in me. I think with that in mind, and I know I know that no matter where I go in the world, I'll be seen as whatever that term is for dark or Black or whatever. I went to Ecuador and I stayed with a host family, and they figured out a way to classify me as the thing, the little chocolate milk dud. And so I understand that level of ignorance. And in a way, inside of me, I'm beyond that. I have to, you know what I'm saying? It's almost as if egoically I necessarily have to exercise a superiority to that ignorance. But at the same time, I have to feel armed that they need to know that whatever gradation they think I am, I'm here to represent Black culture.
Okay.
Whether it's Black African culture, whether it's Black, European culture, Black Latino culture, Black.
Okay.
I don't care what you think of me, and I don't care where in the middle you think I fit. That's dangerous. I'm here,
So pretty much what you're saying is an individual has to start defining themselves. You know what I mean?
You have to.
And not let it, whatever they're projecting, be projected on you, and then you just go by it, because to a certain extent, it's almost like we're feeling we're under the mercy of these people. Like, I don't want to cause any problems because I just need a job. You know what I mean?
I just need a job. No, because I mean, we're here, and you pay the price to be here.
Yeah.
And I walk like I'm a responsible citizen, and anybody around me is not going to be harmed. By my character, by who I am as an individual, you are protected when I am around. I am here to support you. I am here to support people. I'm here to care. So that should mean something being here. And so I've been a resident all the time that I've been here. I literally just applied for my citizenship last week. But you can't tell me I'm not a citizen when the way I feel and what I speak and how I see things. I take it personally now. It's like I've been invited into this family, and so now I'm going to care for what the important things are, and I'm going to voice what I'm going to say what I have to say. And so coming back to your question in terms of navigating yourself as an African, we have a value system that we come with. I don't care what country you're from on the continent. And I think that translates even into, Africans in the diaspora, like in the Caribbean and in Latin America. Like there's a connection to family that we hold dear.
Okay.
And there's a connection to culture that we don't want to lose. And so being here, we're going to just define it for ourselves.
Okay.
We're the new people. We're the new roots now. We planted ourselves here, and we're going to grow a new tree. And we don't want to be like that. And we don't want to let go of our culture, but we're here.
But don't you think culture is dynamic?
Absolutely.
So when you say we don't want to let go of our culture, I think it's already been let go as time goes by, because like even in Africa, for people who've never left Africa, with the movement in Africa more than it has ever been before, like people moving from country to country, intermarriages within tribes in Africa, and then intermarriages within people from different countries in Africa, there's new cultures that are being formed. So I always wonder, what culture is it that we are holding on to, that when we come to the US, that we say we don't want to let go of?
Maybe I think really we don't want to forget.
To forget, okay.
We don't want to forget. And it's important. It's important that I respect my elders, no matter how old I get. It's very important.
Do you think that's not in the? Do you think that's not in the an American culture?
I think.
Or is it the way you express respect that is different?
I think the way we express respect is different. But I also feel like we haven't cared for our youth enough.
In the US or worldwide? Because I think it's happening
in the US. Well, in the worldwide, for sure. But I feel in the cultures that we come from, I won't say there's a reverence for youth, but we look out for. There's a looking down on, not looking down, but making sure you grab the one below.
Okay. I see what you mean. Yeah.
It's intrinsic in how things should move. It's almost part of the formula.
Don't you think?
Of our evolution.
Okay. But do you think that can be a little bit detrimental sometimes to our own growth? And I'll explain what I mean by that, right? Because my experience has been with a lot of African immigrants that I know, the remittances to Africa, like the money we send back home, it's like one of the highest income earners for some of the countries in Africa. Like when they're looking at economics, remittances falls like between 1 and 3 for a country, right? Which to me, I feel like there's so much pressure put on those of us who are here in the US to actually uplift and bring up, like the other people we've left at home. It sounds like a noble thing to do, and it's great, and all of us have done it in one way or another. I'm not taking that away. But on the other hand, doesn't that leave out the governments, the African governments, to actually establish and put measures in place that can help the citizens as a collective, and not rely on this one person who left the village to automatically start sending remittances to uplift the whole village?
No, 100%. I was just having this conversation about how families sort of industrialize like what familial industrialization is what I call it. Where now you start churning out, becoming that machine to make sure the family doesn't fall. The family empire has to stay strong. Absolutely. And that I think that's global government responsibility and what it's done. I was looking more to the wisdom.
The wisdom. Okay.
The part of just connecting to the humanity of the youth and seeing the youth for what it is, to see it and know how to speak to it so that it can see itself forward.
Okay.
I feel like that's what's missing. And with that comes the disrespect.
Okay.
That we see.
Okay.
And I mean, there are groups that still have their respect for the elders. There are a lot of groups that do practice what they have as a value. But
so we can talk about that forever.
Sound like an old person when I was like,
I know.
Your
I was gonna say.
I really do, but it goes a long way.
It is something that needs to be done. Yeah.
What is considered an elder?
What is considered an elder?
I think I posted a meme today that talked about that. Like, elder is not something you decide for yourself. It's given unto you by the community.
That's actually So I want to touch on something we talked a while back in the beginning of our interview. You mentioned that you're an ambitious woman, right? And then you mentioned ways that what makes you ambitious. So the question I have, in the world that we live in right now, it almost feels like being an ambitious woman is negative. Do you see it that way? And especially when it pertains to, I don't know what your love life looks like. I don't know what your relationship status is. But especially when it pertains to like being in a relationship, in a romantic relationship. It almost feels like, don't be too ambitious. If you're heterosexual, it's like, no man is going to want you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like that type of conversation, it comes from those that don't want to let go. Because I'm with somebody that supports my ambition. And it's not like I want to grind and hustle and make my money, get the bag. It's not even that. I'm looking at like, I'm 42 and I feel like I have my life. Like, however I'm supposed to have felt at 30, okay, yeah, whatever. I'm 42. This is my life. This is what all that I've gained in 20s and 30s and all the wisdom that's supposed to have provided for me has given me the vision for my life. And I feel like it's the vision that's ambitious. Not so much like the hustle, right? And so
can you
everything I do is African centered.
Okay.
It seems. From my art to my wellness to even the work that I do as an actor, it has to speak to Black joy. It has to feed Black joy. It has to exalt Black joy. If it doesn't, I don't want to be a part of it. And then I'm creating a catering company with my sister that has to do with South African Indian cuisine. So coming back to culture, coming back to what made me, you know, and it's not so much like I want to hold on to those things, but it's like, that's what gave me me. And this is the way I choose to express it. And these are the opportunities that are in front of me. And this is how I can lend my skill to those things. So, and my ambition is seeing how it can all grow and connect and flourish. And then create anew from this one thing that I've decided upon. Being African-centered, being artistic, being wellness-centered, and being a humanitarian.
Okay, so let me ask you about that little circle, right? And what I know about most Africans, especially as African girls, those of us who, you know, you come to the US, and that last piece of advice when you're being given, make sure you do this and make sure you don't do that. And this is how you should behave yourself when you're out there. Because sometimes for some of these people, this world, the US is a world that is out there. They have no clue where they're sending their children. You know what I mean? Exactly. All they know is, I was told this place that I'm sending my child is going to be good for her in a certain way, but I need to make sure that she's careful. But when they're giving you this advice, there's always the, and make sure before you get married, don't marry this kind of guy or don't marry that kind of guy. For you, when you're creating this Africa-centric thing, do you ever think about what you were told not to do or to do as it pertains to your heritage and your culture?
No.
Okay.
No, not so much anymore. Because when we say heritage and culture, it comes more to, I was raised Islamic.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, and I wasn't raised as strict Islamic, but, you know, Islamic. Yeah. I don't know what that means, but just put a blanket over you.
It's the same way.
Don't do that, and don't do that, and girls don't do this, and girls shouldn't do that. So that was the structure growing up.
So religion does play a role also in our culture, right? A lot. Because I was raised Catholic, and I don't practice it. But I do have my rosary in my car. Why? Because my mom gave it to me, and I was like, let it hang there. But I don't think that, oh my God, I'm Catholic, and oh my God, I have to do this and I have to do that. Yeah,
right. So
I get it.
It's more of a connection to her and being away and all of that. It's more symbolic. Yeah, and it is more symbolic.
Yes.
All those things, those religious things, I've come to appreciate it as their culture. I don't practice it. I'm not a practicing Muslim because the way I was taught it, it contradicted a lot of things I saw. So no, thank you. I enjoy, right? I enjoy being in discovering spirituality.
Yeah,
what that means.
That's how I feel about Catholicism. Also, I'm like, it played a role in my life at a certain time in my life, you know. But right now, I'm like, okay, that was their culture, and I just happened to be introduced to it, and now I can choose. I can choose differently. Yeah,
I can choose differently, and I can also choose to appreciate what you believe from where I'm sitting, and from my growth. You know, because there are times where I want to play Islamic music, and I love the sound of it, and then I love hearing Benedictine monks. And then I love hearing Indian chants. I'm sorry. When religion speaks light, I love
Me
all
too.
of it.
Me too.
And I can enjoy all of it. So I'm kind of omni in that way. when the message is light, I'll take it all in. You know?
It's whatever.
But when it's indoctrinated with dogma, I'm good.
Yeah, it's whatever that resonates with me at that particular moment. You know what I mean? I always say I could be walking down the street and there's a kid at the park who says something that strikes me and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to carry this for the rest of my life. It's the same way. Yeah, it's the same way I could go to church or go to a mosque or go to a temple and they say something and I'll be like, oh my God, this is good. So I don't have I don't have to be stuck in one lane or one religion to actually fulfill, to feel fulfilled, should I say. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
yes, the symbolism of what it means, I can appreciate it from afar.
So do you ever,
because
go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I know you're on those WhatsApp groups, those family WhatsApp groups, right? Okay. I refuse to take myself off it. I refuse. Send me all those notifications. I won't participate. Send me all those religious texts. I'm not going to participate because if it ceases to happen, I'll be so sad. Because as being here and being in my world, it's a culture.
Huh. Okay.
It's a culture, and I want to appreciate it for what it is. Because if somebody foreign were walking down the street and came across all of that on an average day, they'll talk about, oh, I came across and this is what their culture was doing. And, so why can't I appreciate it foreign as a foreigner? Because I've extracted myself from it. And so appreciate it for what it is.
So then that leads me to my next question. Where do you consider home? Or when or when somebody meets you and they ask you, do you ever get this question? Probably you don't, but I do because my accent is more pronounced than yours. Every time people hear my accent, it's, so hey, where are you from? And depending on where I am or what mood I'm feeling that day.
So I'm the same way.
My answer can be very different. I mean, I've told people I live in California. I've told people Orange County, and they've looked at me like
Orange County.
Because it all depends on how I feel and where who's asking. Sometimes it's who's asking, and I'm just like, so. But what is your answer? Like, how do you answer that question if you ever get it?
Where's home?
Where are you from?
Where are you from? I'm from South Africa.
Okay.
And I think that's part of the reason why I've held on to being a resident and not go for the citizenship. I am going to apply and make sure I have dual citizenship. But, I'm South African.
Okay.
I'm from South Africa. And then when you speak, you don't have the accent anymore. And part of why my accent went away so fast is because I was studying to be an actor on the American stage. Mm-hmm. I got to sound like an American. So people can't understand me. And I actually was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, what's my voice? What's my voice? Like, what do because my brother who grew up American, he's in South Africa, and he's been there since 2009, and his accent has changed, and he's sounding like a South African.
But I also think your voice can, the same way you were talking about culture and how you create this thing that is in between, I also think your voice could be the same way, because I know I have an accent. I always say, I am not an actor, so there's no way I'm ever going to change my accent. I mean, I've been in the U.S. for almost 28 years now. Yeah, wow. And I've met people who just came to the U.S. like maybe they've been here 4 years, and they sound all American. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just don't have that skill. I don't know whether I want to acquire that skill. You know what I mean? So for me, the way I look at it is like, there's almost like a concerted effort to actually say, like in your case, you are like, I'm an actor and I have to be on stage and do this. And as an actor, I totally get it. As an actress, you have to assume different personas, different voices at different times, depending on what you're presenting, right? But for my everyday living, I'm not an actress. I'm like, they can deal with my accent. It's fine.
With the accent.
But when I go to Kenya, people think my accent sounds quite American.
Wow.
So then I figured, I was like, well, maybe I've created my own little voice in between here that I didn't even realize I had, because I thought I always sounded just Kenyan. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And of course, in America, I'm always reminded that where you from? You have an accent. Where you from? So exactly.
Accent.
So I'm constantly reminded of that. But then every time I visit other places, it's like, I hear a little bit of an American accent. You know what I mean? So then.
There are times where I speak and people will ask, "Oh, I hear an accent. Where are you from?"
Huh.
Because of the pronunciation of certain words. Like my tongue will still kind of collapse into certain sounds,
like I refuse to say water. I say water.
Water. Like my sister still has the ability to say, "Yeah, I can't do that." Instead of like,
okay.
like she'll still, or even say water. Like, it's interesting. Even my mom. And it's not that I want to sound American. That really wasn't it, as much as like, oh my God, I need to be understood. Like, can I get a glass of water? Can I get a glass of water?
I know.
Oh, so the word is water? Okay. Water.
That's true, yeah. And sometimes it's just...
You know? So I feel like accents are a language in of itself.
Yeah. And it's also...
Because you need to be understood.
And it's also a survival mechanism, you know what I mean? Yeah. Sometimes... Because sometimes you're just like, I don't want to be bothered. Or you're in a meeting at work, and people, instead of, which this has occurred to me a lot, instead of people listening to what you're saying, they're just mesmerized by your accent, and and then it passes them. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking, did you even hear what I said? Are you paying attention to my words, or are you just mesmerized by, you sound different? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, for sure.
So, I know we've been on the phone for too long, considering I was a little late. Sorry.
No, it's fine, Lucy. I'm so happy to be here with you. From 1997 to 2020, whatever.
Okay.
We have to get through on this conversation.
Yeah. So, okay, a quick question that I have for you. Like, pick one topic that is, there's so much going on current affairs, right? Pick one topic that is dear to your heart that you feel that you need to say something about what's going on currently. There's student loan debt, there's immigration, there's housing issues,
mental
wellness. Okay,
mental wellness, and the level at which people, the high level of distraction that people are surrendering to, and that all of this scrolling life, when it's not directed and focused, because technology is helpful, technology is important. The progression of technology, we're going to need it. We got to move with it. But we have to be responsible with it. And it's taken over our ability to control ourselves in so many ways. Because we're so bombarded by notifications, by images that are better than our worlds and are better than ourselves. And now we're thinking, okay, so now I need to get my life together. Okay, let me make my to-do list. Oh no, I'm stressed. You know what I mean? There's so much that's conflicting with just a steady focus. And that I think about that all the time. I think about how much is attacking our mental wellness. It's a psychological warfare. Like there's so many other things gonna happen, but it's the psychological warfare that it's rampant.
So do you do anything, since it's something that is so much at the forefront of your mind? Do you do anything? What do you do? What would you suggest people should do?
Well, for me, I make sure that that's not the first thing that controls me in the day. Like, I keep my phone away from my space. My phone is never next to me when I'm at home. That's one.
I need to learn that. My phone is right here next to me.
You know, I mean, like, I have important things to do. But I don't want to collapse that with, like, I'm an important person. You know?
Yeah.
I have important things to take care of. That need my
attention.
That's
actually a very good difference to differentiate. Just because you have important things to do, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to walk around the world saying, I am this important person. Yeah.
Like decentralize yourself. Learn, you know what I mean? Learn to do that. And then also learn to be out in the world. What do they call it? Be a local file. I think that's the word. LOCALPHILE. Just be a person who appreciates beauty anywhere. Because it forces you to curate. It forces you to see things. It forces you to pay attention to the mundane, to minutia. That's important for our brain. And I don't want something else to control how my neurons fire. No. I get
to control that, yeah.
Because
there's very few in the world that we can control.
Precisely. Yeah. Read. Page. Take a finger, lick your finger, turn that page. Read. Or even read a movie. Watch a movie with subtitles. I don't care. But cultivate new experiences.
That is so key. I don't know what that means. Actually, that leads me to, what advice would you give a new African immigrant coming to the U.S. or who's already here? New to me means no more than 5 years.
No more than
They've
5
been in the
years.
U.S. just about 5, no more than 5 years.
Learn Black American history.
That part.
Learn Black American history. And not from schools and those places. Learn it by yourself. And find books to read about it. Understand their story. And understand their cousins. Mm-hmm. Black America's our cousins. I know I've been treated like a cousin.
Yeah.
Since I've been here. I've been treated like a sister, like a daughter. And it's important that we build with Black America.
That is such sage advice, because the way I look at it is also, you mentioned that they're cousins, talking about culture and heritage. In my culture, we don't even have a word for cousin. You're either my brother or my sister. That's it. You know what I mean? Yep.
That's it.
So technically they are family, they are, and we should treat them as such, and we should go out of our way to learn Black American history.
We should go out of our way, because in a way, if we don't go out of our way to integrate and acculturate, we know better than your average gentrifier.
Yeah. And learning Black American history is actually learning African history.
That's how I came to myself as a South African.
Yeah.
Was through that, because I found history that wasn't history books that was not in South Africa. I found out that my sister once told me that our great grandmother had a tattoo. She's Indian, had a tattoo with numbers on her arm.
Oh.
I was in 9th grade, and I was entering the History Day competition. And I had to look through something, and my teacher gave me this huge book, hardcover book, almost like this encyclopedia, South African history. And I'm paging through there, and I see an Indian lady with numbers on her arm. And that's how I found out that Indians were brought as indentured servants to work on the sugarcane plantations. I would not have known that. Family never told me about that.
They probably didn't know that either, because that's another thing people forget. During African, colonial times, a lot of Africans were not allowed to learn how to read and write. So it was a little bit hard to document our history and pass on our history. And that's why most of our history was all about oratory. You just sit in a circle and you're told the history, and you hope whoever is listening can retain enough.
Can hold on
and
to
then
it.
pass it on to the next generation. You know what I mean? So it's something we really look forward to. But thank you so much for taking time to speak with me today. And
Lucy, thank you so much.
This was great, and I love all your advice and everything. And honestly, I have to tell you, I'm not really a person who likes yoga, but I like your yoga. I know. I I do watch your videos on YouTube, and when you used to have them on Facebook, I actually used to log on. I don't know what happened. You used to log on Facebook at a certain time.
I used to do it every Sunday, and then I got into a theater project, and it took up my entire summer. And then I had to get back to my life, and then I started a new project, and that's the end of the year. So I have to refocus to bringing myself back to the world of yoga. I really was thinking about, I miss guiding yoga classes.
That was really nice. So, Sundays, I used to log on. And to your point as to who the teacher is makes a difference. Because I had tried yoga so many times before, maybe because out of peer pressure, or maybe that was the cool thing to do, you know. And every time I was like, I hate this thing. I don't like yoga. I don't. But then when I started watching you on Sundays, actually, I never even used to practice it with you. I would just put you in the background because I'd be like, you know, let me support Nadia. I need to support her. So then I would turn it on and then put it in the background. And then slowly, I was like, oh, I actually like how she teaches yoga. I need to try this with her. So, just so that you know, somebody's watching, even though you don't know they're watching.
Oh,
big hugs.
Lots of love. I'm so happy to see your face.
Thank you.
You're still beaming.
Thank you so much.
From 1997.
Thank you so much. And
lots of love.
Yeah, and do you want to pitch your projects one more time? I know you pitched them earlier in the show, but do you want to? Yeah.
Yes. If you're looking to learn more about Kemetic yoga, you can visit me at Sovereign Lineage at sovereignlineage.com. Sorry. sovereignlineage.com. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. And you can check out my YouTube channel, Shu Yoga. SHU.
Okay, and then I'm going to...
Lucy, you have the links.
Yes, I do have the links. I will put all this in the comments section so that everyone can link to you.
And if you love fine art from Africa, check out Color Me Africa, finearts.com.
Yep. And with that note, since we're cultural people and we're diverse and we've moved, muchas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias.
Asante Sara, as we